Ladies and gentlemen, bench warmers of all ages, it is me back, Jimmy Pilato, with another center of attention. Damn it, I almost had that one. That's what goes on when you try and write these in your head. Things go well, some things don't. I'm here. I'm wearing my Avalanche stuff. Last week, if you listened to the podcast, I was going back, making sure as I was editing it, I heard the segment, and I'm sure there were some people. We had mainly Canadians reaching out to us in our comments, which, hey, mission accomplished. We got you guys to pay attention to our page with all that content, both my blog calling out just the truly un-American nature of these round-robin formatted tournaments, and also with Nico's center of attention last week where, yes, Canada, you may have won, but guess what? You are still America's hat. But no, I'm back in my Avalanche gear because last week we were talking about the Four Nations, obviously. We got really nationalized. We were all into rooting for Team America, which is awesome. America! You know, nothing wrong with that. But now we have to get back into our normal reality. And I would love to know what the players thought of that whole entire situation. Because if you think about it, Hagel and Matthew Tkachuk, now they didn't fight each other in that first USA-Canada game, but they both play on the same team. And Hagel fought Brady Tkachuk, which is Matthew's brother and obviously best friend. I don't know if Hagel has some illusion that he's Matthew's best friend. No, Brady, his brother, is his best friend. It's got to be a little bit strange. I would love – I know that they're following a few people for off-season documentaries. I think that this is one thing that you can give Gary Bettman a lot of credit is the recent media boom since COVID. I know that we were talking about possibly having another lockout and – the collective bargaining agreement situation wasn't great going into the pandemic, but the salary cap right now in the NHL is bumped up about they're expecting it to move $3 million in a season. So it's continuing to go up. They have all of these documentaries, both through ESPN and now Prime, where they're following these players. I would love to see what they thought of that nationalist side going right back into their teams. But obviously, Nico and I are Colorado Avalanche fans. We celebrated a cup for an entire year as Colorado Avalanche fans. It has not been the season that we wanted. I think that if you listed out the things that you want, Nico Rantanen not being here, a little bit strange. I think that maybe we can throw that in a little bit later. I kind of want to see where Nico stands on that, but it's an interesting situation with him now in Carolina. You have Nietzsche. You still don't have Landeskog, but Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar are the two best players in the world. Cale Makar was the deciding factor in the Four Nations gold medal or final game, whatever you want to call it, against the United States. When he wasn't there, the United States dominated Canada. When he comes back, Canada wins, and they win in the biggest moments. We have two of the best players on the planet, and the trade deadline is still looming. We still have the ability and time to make moves. We've been watching. We haven't been paying as much attention to the NHL season because of football and everything else that we've had going on. Nico and I are both high school sports coaches, but now that it is getting close, this is the dead period. We have to get through next couple weeks, get to college, the conference championship tournaments for basketball and wrestling, which we're going to be talking about, and then you get into Stanley Cup playoff hockey and NBA playoff basketball. I really, at this point, I feel so justified as somebody who's never watched the NBA with all the stuff that's been talked about in the media. All right, that was a little bit all over the place, but that should set you up for what this episode is going to be. Episode 220 of The Far End of the Bench with myself and my co-host Nico Bryant coming your way next.
If you don't stay down and you never quit, come on over here and sit on the far end of the bench.
Woo, doggy, here we go. Full disclosure, it's been a week again. It's just like February continues to come and it won't stop coming. No pause there. It's been a struggle. So we're going to sit here. We're going to get through this. Thank you for sitting through my little rambling at the beginning. Nico, it's good to be back. And this is technically work because we want to make it a job at some point. But this is a nice little distraction from getting yelled at by 30, 12-year-olds. I don't know if you've ever experienced that. Today we were doing a thing about generation swap. And I was asking them, how old do you think I am? 35. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, that's
raise your hand.
That's tough. I spent the last 3 days with a bunch of freshmen and sophomores too. So I didn't really enjoy that too much either. But here we are back with the show, ready to talk about a bunch of BS like we usually do.
Yeah, and we are we got a couple things that we're going to focus on. I think that we can have a pretty drawn out conversation about the thumbnail that we made, because I said I cannot wait for Luka to go back and get a chance to play against that team. And it wasn't in Dallas. It would have been even better if it would have been on Dallas's home floor. But Luka got his revenge. We're going to talk about college basketball. We're going to talk about if you don't watch college wrestling, don't worry. I'm trying to prove to you how much you should read my blogs when we get to there. We're going to talk about Popovich's situation and then kind of just see where things go, because the combine is happening. We're not two big combine guys, but CU has possibly 2 top 5 picks. Shedeur,
could possibly be the number 1, number 2 pick with the way injuries are falling out so far. So,
and I know that the social media trend has gone a little bit more towards Ward and not Shedeur. One thing that I will remind everybody: don't pay attention to everybody on social media, because that's not how NFL franchises think. So we got plenty to get into. Where do you want to start? I'll let you. I'll give the floor to you. Where do you want to go first?
I mean, we can start in the basketball end, because the thumbnail will speak for itself. But the NBA world, it's been an interesting week. Obviously, Nuggets played the Lakers on Saturday night. I was in attendance, and I had a date. And let's just say, unfortunately, the date didn't have the best of time. Is all I'm going to say, because the Lakers did come in and beat us, and they won their Super Bowl. So throw the damn parade, LA, hang the banner. Look, the Lakers are we're in that sweet spot of honeymoon phase. I said it, I want to say 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now, where it's going to take a month of teams to realize how to beat the Lakers, and defend Luka and LeBron, and be able to attack them defensively. Because anytime, like right after trade, teams are just going to get hot. And what we saw from the Denver Lakers game on Saturday, more specifically, we'll talk about the Mavs Lakers game here in a second. JJ Redick seemed like it was his fucking Super Bowl. I'm not saying that like thinking the Nuggets' ego is so big, but he said, and I quote, "I couldn't sleep for 2 days thinking about this game."
Makes sense.
They game planned perfectly. They had a great game plan. Darvin Ham is so far out of the window. JJ Redick is a great basketball mind for a reason, and he game planned that game very, very well. They made Jokic become a passer, and unfortunately, they made the Nuggets beat you. The other players beat you, and when Aaron Gordon is your leading scorer, I love AG. I'm wearing his shirt for a reason. Like, he should not be the leading scorer on a team when you're playing a team that is in the Western Conference race. So it's not the end of the world for the Nuggets. Obviously, we're still 3 seed tonight. We're playing Milwaukee in Milwaukee, which I'll throw on after this. I'm sure our listeners will too as well. It's a big game. Love to get that. It's a little road trip that we got going on. Need to get a couple of wins. We're even pace right now for the 2 seed. The West is getting very, very jumbled up in the middle because OKC is just leading away with the number 1 seed. Then it goes Memphis, it goes us, which we both have the same record, but Memphis is the tiebreaker. Then it goes Houston at 4, Lakers at 5, I believe Clippers at 6. Then we get into Dallas. And those other teams there at the back end. But that game Saturday showed a lot to me about how the Lakers are still a good team, and how Nico Harrison may be the dumbest idiot on this planet, plain and simple, because he got to see in 4K Luka Doncic step on the field and put his Slovenian dick on the table. It's absolutely dumb.
He stared a hole through that guy every single time that he had a bucket go through. Before I want to get involved in that conversation with Luka. And getting his shot back at the Mavs. But going back, we're a Denver show, so we might as well spend a little bit of time talking about the Nuggets. We haven't done it too much in the recent weeks. It's not the worst thing in the world to have. I mean, it's a very flattering statement, JJ Redick said, and not being able to sleep for 2 days. And it means that the Lakers are now, you can no longer ignore the Denver franchise. It's here now. Well, you hadn't beat us in how many times? Wasn't it like 16 straight games or something like that?
It was 14 of the last 15 games, yes.
Yeah, it was at that point, yeah, this is, if you're a young coach, if you're JJ Redick in your first season with a team, pick a guy to be your enemy and go beat him. Do whatever you can to beat them, which is great. But now here's the issue. You gave Michael Malone all of the ammunition that you're going to use in those big moments. And a playoff series, I trust I mean, we'll see what JJ Redick can do as a coach in the playoffs, but I trust a guy that's been able to game plan and understand what changes in the games in a playoff series like Michael Malone to be able to combat that. So yes, this was great and it's good for you. I feel like it's a little bit of a mistake for the Lakers to show all of their bullets, especially like you said, this isn't a normal time. Things are going to slow back down. Like nobody's going to be making every shot that they take.
I hate saying this because it's weird that it's the other roles are reversed, but they were our little brother the last 15 games. It was a big game for the Lakers. That is a massive staple, being like, if we can beat this team, we can beat anyone in the West. Obviously, I still think they're still very, very much worse than the Thunder. But like, you put your stamp on that, you give that belief to a locker room that's obviously very, very new, very, very young outside of Luka and LeBron. Like, I don't think it's a bad idea. I really don't. And I will give JJ Redick a lot of credit because, like I said, the game plan they put in with double Jokic or putting in front of Jokic in the post and having someone behind, basically making Aaron Gordon beat you from the three, which he was knocking out threes. Michael Porter Jr. was nowhere to be seen. Jamal Murray had a slow game as well. So, look, it was a great game by Lakers, and it was just the boost that they needed after the Luka trade, because obviously people could have saw that as a look-ahead game because obviously they played the Mavericks on Tuesday night, and everyone knows they had that circled after the trade went down. But the Lakers came out firing, and every chance that the Nuggets had to get within one, within two, it was followed back by a run of their own on Lakers. And a couple of things from the Nuggets side that I was very disappointed in was the turnovers are very, very bad. Michael Porter Jr. and more specifically Christian Brown and that bench unit was just non-existent. They were just blended in way too easily, especially a Lakers bench that frankly is not as good as ours, and our bench is not very good either. Like they're very, very top heavy over there in LA. They have a good starting five, and they have a couple decent role players off the bench, but not a ton to be excited about. But their second unit dominated our second unit. And Russ
how did they shut down Jokic?
Explain it was fronting the post, and basically it was a double team in the post, not even let him touch the ball in the post, basically.
So, like, they are committing to not having a center, is what you're telling me.
I mean, they have to. The trade deadline's passed, and the only big man they picked up was Alex Len. Alex Len is one of the worst draft picks of all time. He was a top 10 pick at one point, and he's horrible. But so what they game plan around, I think more teams will see it more and more. You front the post. For those that don't know basketball terminology, fronting the post means the defender that's guarding the big man is going to stand in front of the ball and him. So when you do that, well, good big men will say, well, can't you just throw it over him? That's where the backside help is coming from. Rui Hachimura was part of that game plan, and then also I believe it was Jackson Hayes was in part of that game plan. I can't remember their other big off the top of my head. But they fronted the post so well, so that way if Jokic wanted to touch the ball, he has to be at the 3-point line and work from there. Now, obviously, Jokic he's a decent 3-point shooter, but he's not a terrible shooter by any means. But at this point, you don't want Jokic to get his back to the basket and be in that mid-range level because that's where he's most effective. You step him out a little bit further, you get the ball out of his hands, and make the other guys beat you. That's a great game plan. And like I said, it works. Okay. And I expect more teams to implement that because, like I said, when Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. want to be inconsistent the whole season, this is what the results we're going to get.
You basically force him to dribble around you to get to the hoop or decide to shoot threes and be big honey. So it's effective. That's the crazy thing about like hockey and not necessarily hockey, but like basketball specifically. Almost all of game plans are built around like you're going to let one person score. You just have to decide which one person that is going to be. In this case, Jokic is going to get stats. Like you can't hold him off of the stat sheet entirely.
Triple double by halfway through the third. Like that's
assist hurts you way less than him just sitting in the paint. Oh, here we go.
Like I said, look again. There's a reason why Jokic has never played with another All-Star his entire career. Still, like Nuggets won a championship, we still doesn't have an All-Star player on this roster, and that's because that he has made everyone around him so much better. Frankly, just look at what like other players have left where they've gone on to. KCP is a role player, and his numbers, his shoot percentage was at 41% from 3-point line last year. He's hovering around 29, 28 right now. Like you look at what Jeremy Grant did after that bubble run, where everyone thought he would be the next guy. He got paid, and my man hasn't been heard of and heard from in 4 years. Players come into the system, they become the players that work around Jokic, and when they leave, they just be like, oh, I can't just rely on him to do everything. And unfortunately, we're at a point right now this season. And look, I am going to be very cautious here. We did win 9 in a row before that game, and we've won 10 of the last 11. So that's not like anything to be mad about by any means. But like the problem is when we play these better teams, we are not as talented as them. Unfortunately, we're not as talented as Oklahoma City. Depth-wise, I will say Jokic is obviously better than everybody, but depth-wise, we're not as talented as Oklahoma City, not as talented as Boston, not as talented as a New York team or Cleveland team right now. Depth-wise, we have really good number one, but there's a big drop-off. Plain and simple, there's a big drop-off, and
sounds like the Avalanche.
Exactly. It's like when we were so good 2 years ago when we won the championship. It's like there was the number twos played on a number one level. Jamal was the second best player on a championship team. Michael Porter Jr. was knocking down wide open threes, was effective on the rebounding, effective defensively. Aaron Gordon made life miserable for every person he defended. Like, unfortunately, we're not having all that click right now. And the things that could hide those things away when they were working 2 years ago, when you had Jeff Green, when you had Bruce Brown, was like there was guys that could do that off the bench. Fortunately, there's not guys to do that off the bench. Julian Strother had 5 fouls in fucking 10 minutes played the other night. Russell Westbrook is 35 years old. He's played a lot better this year. He has, but you cannot ask him to do everything.
Can't have him play 81 games and then play 4 playoff series. That's
exactly
just ridiculous.
Exactly. Zeke has been manageable recently, finally, for F's sake. Like, he's been manageable and useful. But, like, this bench, and this is why I was so frustrated we didn't make a move at deadline. It's like, I didn't need a massive move. I needed Dario Saric to get off the fucking bench when he's the 5th highest paid player on the team and not even getting run against a good team. That's what I needed. That's exactly what I needed. And instead, Calvin Booth sat on his hands and decided not to pull a trigger on anything. So that's where we are, and hopefully it doesn't come back to bite us in the ass.
Yeah, if I'm Calvin Booth, if I'm any NBA GM, I know that
he's on the hot seat. He is 100% on the hot seat, especially if this
none of them
exit.
None of them should be comfortable in their job after what Nico Harrison did, because it doesn't just screw over him and his franchise. It now puts a target on all of the GMs in the entire league's back. But Calvin Booth is also along that same lines. Like, you're calling one of your top players out for being fat, lazy, and unmotivated. And I mean, this is a good way to get into that game. There was not an ounce of fat, not an ounce of laziness, not an ounce of unmotivated. He probably, just out of spite, went out and had a hell of a bender the night before they played, and then had a hell of a bender the night after that they played that game.
It's very funny that people think that the Hookah, as they call him, Hookah Doncic, is a problem, because if you sit here and act like Dirk wasn't a partier in his mid-20s, you're out of your fucking mind.
Everybody has a vice.
The dude drink is German. What do Germans do, Jimmy? They drink
Stein.
They drink.
I need a Stein.
Exactly. They
What's
drink
a
their
Stein?
Stein after
56
Stein.
ounces of beer.
It's
and I'm going to have 2 Steins, please.
Look, as a German child, like it is like good, like I think it is a tradition, and I'm being very careful with my words here, to literally put your finger in a beer and put it on the lips, because the barley for the beer is good for the children. That is something they do in Germany. Real thing.
Throw it in the Italian here. If you put a little whiskey on the gums when they're crying or teething, they don't cry when they teeth.
Exactly. Like where you're talking to a couple German and Italian. Like, this is the shit.
Alcohol.
Like it's not like, oh my God. I love the referencing of I think this is a horrible reference, but the reference of, I mean, do you remember the 2017 Hard Knocks with the Cleveland Browns, where the guy with the big belly was a hut guy? He had this line, which I thought is even more relevant today, is if we won 2 world wars doing jumping jacks and sit-ups, for fuck's sake. Like if you got it, you got it. I'm sorry. You can fucking drink your ass off, smoke whatever, do like not smoke whatever, but you know what I mean. To a point.
Trust me. Point. All these athletes that have podcasts now are just outing the shit out of themselves. I just listened to Bustin', and Lawan was talking about doing a mountain of coke off of a kitchen knife the night before he played in the game. I was like, excuse me?
Excuse me? Did I miss exactly?
And by the way, Lawrence Taylor would dissolve cocaine in his water. Or at least that's the rumor. Allegedly.
If you got just plain simple, if you got it, you fucking got it. Okay, plain simple. Some guys cannot deal with that, and that's what they're derail their careers. If that stuff happens, some guys can do that and fucking be the best player on the planet. And I hate to break the news to you, Nico Harrison. Luka's one of those guys. Luka is one of those guys, and that's why it's just so frustrating. It's just like I was sitting there. And at the Lakers game and being like, how the fuck did we get to this point? Like they're not in a real it was a pipe dream to think that Luka was going to become a free agent in like 3 years and he could test the Nuggets possibly or go somewhere else or whatever. Let alone get fucking traded to a franchise that is in the same conference, by the way, and ahead of the standings as you. And then like I said, Jimmy, I could do a 2-hour podcast just on the mistakes that were in this trade alone. And that just irked me to my core.
Bold move trading a 25-year-old, 3-time All-NBA guy without listening to any other offer for only getting back AD. Bold move.
By the way, AD has played how many games as Maverick?
He wasn't on the floor the other night.
He played one game.
I know, and he wasn't out there when Luka came.
He's played one fucking game in 2 weeks because he got injured the first night.
Oh, he took that LeBron school of hard knocks to heart, dude.
I was called blasphemous that AD is a top 5 player, and everyone was telling me I'm wrong, that I'm sliding AD so much. How many games has he fucking played for this team?
Uno.
Tell me. One.
Uno.
It's been 2. The trade deadline was February 12th? I
think the trade came through on the 10th.
Whatever. Either way, like it's the end of the month. And the Mavericks keep slipping down the fucking ranks, and AD's not even playing. It's like I know ball. It really is. It's very, very funny. It's very funny. I was called blasphemous for sliding AD this much. Not once have I ever slided AD's talent on the floor. I slide his ability to stay on the floor. And that is why this move, and that is why actually he is on the floor when he does play, because that's why he gets injured so much, because he keeps falling like Twin Towers. Him and Joel Embiid have the same exact problem. I could go on.
That's a tough reference. That's a tough reference, right?
I'm just saying both are very similar, but one has won a championship because he had better.
One had more structural integrity for a little bit longer and then collapsed afterwards. Yeah, no, I get it.
That's all I'm saying. There's a lot of similarities, but like AD is such a great talent when he plays. I'm not denying that. But he's 33 years old, and the motherfucker played one game, looked great. Great first half. Mavericks fans were excited. And then what happened? Oh, he got injured.
Wait a second. First half? He didn't play in the second half of that game?
Maybe it was 3 quarters, maybe it was longer than that. I know he didn't finish the game.
Honestly,
I know for a fact he didn't finish the game.
I have no idea. Oh my God.
It was the first game. I sat there and I was like, because I was in Virginia when this was happening. I was watching the game and I was like, AD's already injured. Oh, it's time to pull up Twitter and see what Mavs fans are doing to themselves right now, because I'd be so unbelievably pissed.
I just don't. It's weird because the NBA has such a relationship with the European player, and they should understand what those people go through and why they are a little bit different and a little bit strange. Like, the reason why he does all of this partying stuff is because he's just celebrating the fact that he doesn't have to dodge bombs going to school anymore, going to work. Like, there's some legit shit happening over in Europe that these guys are lucky enough to get away from. So, yeah, he's going to sit here and he's going to indulge himself in his free time. It's free time. Even if you work a full-time job, you're working 40 hours a week. Say you work a little bit of overtime, that's 60. There's other time throughout the week that you don't have to be obsessed with basketball.
That video of Luka after winning the Western Conference Finals last year and having the beer literally taken out of his hands by Michael Finley, one of the guys who works.
Oh, I thought it was Harrison that took the beer.
It wasn't Harrison. It was another Maverick, Michael Finley, who played for Dallas for a lot of years. He's in the he's the management side of everything, and that video is going to be ingrained in their minds forever because like you're not even letting the kid celebrate. He's not. It's not like he's an 18-year-old. He's sipping on a beer, talking to someone outside the locker room, and you just take it away from him.
By the way, cultural, like, be a little bit sensitive. He's been able to drink since he was 16. Like, this is, I get that he's young to you, he's young to Americans, but that's not that if it was illegal, yes, take it, but it's not illegal. And he's not going to think twice about it because that's just the way that he's been raised.
He wasn't even drunk in that video.
He wasn't.
I want you to pull up that video because like he wasn't even drunk in that video. Like he literally was just sitting there and just like having a conversation, and the beer was just taken out of his hand. You could tell he was like, "What was that? Like what did I do something wrong?" Like he wasn't acting like too tipsy. Like you could like confidently say, "Hey, only have a couple tonight, boys. We have to have practice 2 days because we have to prepare for the finals." That's totally fine. But many celebrations like that. Dallas hasn't been to the NBA Finals before last year until 2012. It's been 10 years. It's absolutely crazy. But the video is just like he's just sitting there hugging his boys. I'm pretty sure that's his dad next to him. He's hugging somebody, and Michael Finley just comes and grabs it. He's just like, okay. See, so he does a shrug, and I'm like, okay, I guess, all right. That's just the relationship that Dallas does, and it's just so poor. It makes zero sense. It's so awkward.
It was funny to talk about. Like I was bringing it up last year because it seemed like a really funny joke. Wouldn't it be crazy if some GM decided that because this guy, whatever, that you close your Twitter for a second, just get offline and actually look at what the guy is doing. Is he at practice all the time? Has he ever missed because he's been hungover? If the answer to those two questions are no, who gives a shit if the guy's drinking a beer in the locker room?
Exactly, especially after making a conference finals or winning conference finals and going to the NBA finals.
Like, you're not practicing tomorrow. You got to wait.
That's the reason why we're trading him away. Your star player is because he has a couple brewskis here and then. Jimmy, with certain players, it would affect their game. Like Jokic's and Luka game are so specific where it's not this athleticism of jumping out of the fucking gym. Okay, they have a certain play style where it's not so much on their body where it's just step back threes, defense, our defense, and everything. It's not as much wear and tear on their body as say a LeBron or a KD, for instance, that are up and down, banging bodies. Pause in the post like that. And Anthony Davis and Joel Embiid can throw into that too. Like it's just so unbelievably funny when all those stories came out about how he's out of shape and everything, and now everyone's calling him. The new nickname is what's the fucking pill that people are taking now?
Ozempic.
It's Ozempic Doncic or Luka Zempic. Luke Zempic. Luka Zempic Doncic is what they're calling him. It's he you're telling me that man's out of shape? I'm not going to keep.
I'm pretty sure you brought up Ozempic when I said that was the reason they traded him. It's like you can put the motherfucker on Ozempic and still get him. You can still get him to shoot threes.
Exactly. Like he'll be. I hope. Look, I never hate to call for people's jobs because I hate doing that in general. But I'd be very surprised if Nico Harrison was here longer than 2 more years. Let me be very, very clear.
You're going to give him 2 more years after that?
I think they give him until Anthony Davis's deal is done, basically. And if they don't even make a conference finals in 2 years, he's gone. If they make a finals, they'll stick around. But frankly, they're not even on that tier because they're still a playing team. They're still fighting for their lives, and they're going to have to go through us.
How much are they fighting for their lives? Because that's the other thing that you have to these are people in your locker room, and they saw what you did. Like the picture you have of the thumbnail is him dapping up Kyrie. And Kyrie is one of the most emotional players of all. Even he was sitting there like, I cannot believe I'm having to shake your hand as the opposing player. Like, why the fuck are you not in the uniform next to me? Another
reason. Do you think Klay Thompson went to Dallas just for fucking Kyrie?
Probably. I would say probably not.
I would take a wild shot that Klay Thompson said, I want to go to Dallas to play with Luka and Kyrie. And not play with half the season.
I heard you say Davis. Kyrie and Anthony Davis.
I'm sorry. I hate to be a burden of bad news for Golden State fans, but if I was Klay Thompson and I was told that Luka Doncic was going to get traded a year later, I would have stayed in Golden State and got less because they look decent with Jimmy right now. They do. They really do. They look decent with Jimmy Butler right now. I don't think that they're a real contender, but like they could use a Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson went to Dallas. They traded PJ Watson to play with Luka. They traded Darren Gafford to play with Luka, and now they're throwing in another wrench. Like I said, they are as a sports management major, they are going to write books and have fucking example of this of mismanagement and how to not run a company.
I envy
in
all of
fucking
your
schools
professors from
everywhere.
college. I envy your professors from college because they don't even have to plan anything. They just have to pull up ESPN, go, okay, read this article and tell me all of the mistakes that you can identify in Nico Harrison's business plan.
You know,
Go ahead.
So if you take the names out of the equation, take the sports side of it out of the equation, and you just lay this out in a management type aspect, that company goes bankrupt in 2 years. Like I am dead serious. They go bankrupt in 2 years, and that's putting it nicely.
Mid-level manager decides to fire most productive employee for personal decisions that he made off of the clock.
Yeah.
I don't know how HR gets out of that.
For a guy that shows up to work half the time and is probably 4 or 5 years away from retiring, as opposed to a guy that you're gonna have another 15
Are
years
you paying him more? You're paying him more than
I don't know the contract situations.
But I know that Luka hasn't signed the Supermax yet. I feel like you're probably paying Anthony Davis more because you're not paying the Supermax deal or whatever they were going to have.
I would say, guess maybe, but I'm not going to go that far upon the contracts wise. But it's just like it's
still a month later, it makes 0 sense. And now whenever it's been great for me because whenever I get a response that makes absolutely no sense, instead of pulling out the Billy Madison, all of us in the room are dumber for having heard what you just said. I can just say, you're being a real Nico Harrison right now. And all the kids know exactly like, oh, okay.
Nico's out there. Do not claim Nico Harrison. I want to make it very, very clear that my name is spelled with a K. Okay, so I do not claim him.
I don't know what his Nico is short for, but yours is short for Nikolai.
I do not claim him. Okay, I do not claim him.
Remember when he said he was German at the beginning of the episode? Nikolai. That's not even German. That's Russian.
Exactly. I'm closer to Nikola Jokic than I am Nico Harrison. I'll make that very clear.
And you're closer to Luka Doncic.
Exactly. That's all I'm saying.
It's your Yugoslavian brotherhood that's coming out in the last month and a half.
Oh my gosh! Now we're getting too nerdy.
Oh no, it could get nerdier. Let's talk about the fact that Yugoslavia is the last country besides France, the United States, to win a gold medal in basketball. I'm just saying. All right. I don't know why my Siri popped up on my phone. I have a kid in my class named Siri. You know how difficult it is to take attendance?
Oh, I'm sure. It's like, shut up, Apple Watch. Yeah, just please stop.
No, and she feels bad when it happens.
Oh, I'm sure it happens to her all the time. That's
but she gets so frustrated. I'm like, no, stop. So I'm just standing next to my phone as I'm going. I'm like, okay, and Siri, are you here? Okay, good.
You mute it, right? You put your hand on it, you mute it for a second, and then
it's like a muff. All right. You want to talk a little bit about? Let's talk anything else in the NBA. Actually, let's talk about Pop because I wrote the blog because I wanted to take a swing at it. We'll probably put out. I started a new series. I didn't tell you about it, but Stories from the Bench. It's actually been kind of fun because people don't want to read blogs. Might be better for them to listen to blogs being read to them. But Popovich, it's been made official now. He will not be returning to the sideline for the San Antonio Spurs. I'll go ahead. I'm going to pull up the blog just because that's literally all the information that I know about the situation. I wanted to give you a chance because you're obviously closer to the game. You would be able to understand and maybe explain what this means to the NBA, to the Spurs, and to basketball as a whole. So Popovich stepping down. What were your thoughts when you saw that go across your screen?
I mean, like, I honestly, they kept it hum for a lot of the season. Like, I remember watching the Spurs when they played here early in the season, or maybe it was on TV. I can't remember. I was seeing someone else on the bench. I'm sorry, I don't know his name off the top of my head, but like, I remember seeing him being like, "Oh, what happened to Pop?" And I looked it up that he had a stroke and he had some complications and everything. It's like it's a very, very tough situation. And I don't blame the guy one bit.
Mitch Johnson.
I was like, it sucks even more because like obviously Wemby is the next great San Antonio Spur. Like he went from Gervin to Dave Robinson to Tim Duncan, a little bit of time, Wembanyama, and Popovich was there for Robinson, obviously Duncan, and he was at the beginning of Wemby for a little bit there, and it's very tough that he only got 1 year full season with them. I hope that he's able to come back in some sort of. I think it's time for him to maybe get to the management side of things. Phil Jackson did it. Pat Riley did it. Popovich kind of did it for so long. I think he could get in management with the Spurs and still be a mentor to the young coach in San Antonio. And like I said, San Antonio is not winning a championship this year. But you look at what they're doing with De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, and Wembanyama, this team could easily be a host a playoff series next year. I'm not.
This was the pattern that they had been following. Build a good team around a big man, and the guy was born in 1949. He probably should have been in management. I know that he's a great coach, and I definitely cannot speak to what you're going to lose on the floor with him not on the sideline, but in conventional standards, he should have been in management probably 15 years ago.
And it's not saying that his coaching got bad, because the man, you look at
the Spurs are way worse without him.
From I don't even remember. They had a
1994 or 1998 is his first season as head coach.
They didn't miss the playoffs
22 straight seasons
until I believe the bubble. I think, or maybe it was
2019.
2019. Yeah.
You're picking up all the stats that I found from my blog. What's going on here?
It's like I don't know. It's like we have telepath. We can telepath what we're talking about. He is one of the longest tenured and one of the greatest coaches of all time. I don't know if he passes Phil. I don't know if he passes Pat. I don't know but he's right up there.
He's won 3 championships, right? Or is it 4?
5. He won 5.
Shit. Okay.
So he won 3 with the trio, or sorry, or maybe it was 4. I thought it was 5. I know he won.
Let's
3.
see.
Oh, no, yeah, he was 5 because he won 1 with David Robinson and Tim Duncan together. That was David Robinson.
99, 2003, 2005, 2007, and 2014.
Yep. So the 3 with Parker, Ginobili, Duncan as the core, and then 1 at the end with 2015 with Kawhi.
And I believe that makes him one of the few coaches with playoff wins in 3 consecutive decades.
It's championship. He is one of the. I always thought he was the greatest basketball mind of all time. I obviously didn't really watch prime Phil Jackson. I watched him with those Lakers days, but I didn't know Phil Jackson with the Bulls as much as I know Popovich with the Spurs. But the Spurs every single year were a playoff team. You almost etched them in. They were that good for so long, and frankly, you could almost etch them in as being a conference championship type team. And like I said, look, that every team that Pop. That was one thing Pop was so good at, was he always made sure that there's a new identity and that the team never got stale, right? Whether it be bringing in Ginobili and taking a swing on him, or after a few years after Dave Robinson, moving on from Avery Johnson and getting a guy not very well known, a guy not very well known, Tony Parker, and bringing him in. Or how about when they got into the 2010s and they take a swing on a absolute freak of an athlete in Kawhi Leonard from San Diego State, a school that doesn't get a lot of press, and bring him in, and he wins Finals MVP for you against the big 3. Like the Spurs are. It's why I continually want to say this over and over again about the Nuggets. Is I don't want to be Golden State. I would love to win a championship here and there. I would love to do a lot. Sure, it'd be cool to win 5 championships like the Warriors did in 8 years, whatever it was. But I would love to have a playoff team for 30 years in a row where we are on the verge of championship and we have 5 championships over 30 years, 20 years, whatever it is. That would be a life. That's a quarter of my life. Probably a little bit less, but a quarter of my life where I know nothing but great basketball from a team, right? If you are a Spurs fan under or over the age of 8 years old, you've seen great Spurs teams. Plain simple, and the kids 8 years old and younger, those kids don't even know what it feels like to never make the playoffs, because they made the playoffs. There's teams like Charlotte, teams like Washington that are just basketball hell that frankly can never get their foot going. And then you just look at what Popovich did, and he has just been excellent for so many years. And like I said, he's one of the greatest coaches of all time, if not the greatest coach of all time. He's gonna be sorely missed. I would love to see him being in that Pat Riley, Phil Jackson role now going forward, because I think he can add a lot of things still, because his mind is so sharp and so smart too at his age. I would love to see him do that, because like I said, having Wemby, having De'Aaron Fox, it's a young team where I think a young coach helps. It absolutely does help, getting a young coach, young guys, and building that program up from there. But having that little, they called Phil Jackson the guru. Having that little guru in the back of standing in the press box and helping you and Greg Popovich will do nothing but wonders for this young San Antonio Spurs team.
It's just proof that tough coaching doesn't go out of style. It's just the way that you're able to implement it. And it's funny, all of these guys, all of the GMs, all of the fans that say, I need a young coach to be able to communicate with this level of athlete. Popovich was in his 70s communicating with 18, 19, 20-year-olds and building them into what they became. Kawhi Leonard is not Kawhi Leonard without being in San Antonio initially to start his career. And he's done that for
Tim Duncan isn't, Tony Parker isn't, Manu Ginobili, David Robinson really hit his stride.
Manu Ginobili won a gold medal. He was able to bring a gold medal to Argentina with all the shit that he learned from Greg Popovich. And it's tried and true military mental toughness type stuff because he's a graduate of the Air Force Academy and he's a U.S. veteran. Like you don't necessarily like the Spurs, and is he a little bit abrasive? How can you not? I love everything about Greg Popovich. Doing the research for the blog, I was like, I love this guy.
It's the Patriots, but Belichick without the scandals is the best way to put it. It's like you hated them when you played them. They were a pain in your ass for so long because of how good they were for so long, but you knew there was a great coach on their side, and that was the same thing we could say about Belichick with the Patriots as we say with Popovich with the Spurs. Like you hated them because you played them every year, but at the same time you were like, man, these guys are doing it right. They're doing it the right way. They're playing hard. The guys will always be ready for every single game they step into, and that was just the way Popovich coached.
It's going to be different with him out, not on the sideline anymore. And we'll see, hopefully, first off, he's able to make a recovery from the stroke that he had in November to living a normal semblance of life for whatever time that he has left. And then if he's able to come back and be in a management role, like I agree with you. I think that he would be a huge benefit to the San Antonio Spurs organization in any capacity that he's able to be there. Like, you need a guy like that in your organization.
San Antonio is very good about that too. Like David Robinson still's around. Tim Duncan with his dreads is still around. I remember seeing those videos of LaMarcus Aldridge and Tim Duncan working together after Tim Duncan retired. Like, there's a reason. Frankly, let's not sugarcoat it. There's a reason why Wembanyama's a Spur. It's because of Tony Parker. Because Tony Parker was the greatest. I mean, probably is as of this moment. But eventually he may not be. Was one of the greatest French national players of all time, and you don't think Wemby has a tie there at all? You don't think they're helping each other out a little bit? Like, it all ties back in together, so I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Let's move on, and we're not necessarily going to talk about the NHL. The Avalanche, nice to get a win, but they were on a little bit of a skid. They got to get hot at some point. That's basically all I'm going to say about it now. I guess I am curious. How do you think you would have reacted? You have to play as hard as you possibly can for your country against your own teammates, and then 2 days later, you're back in the same dressing room like, well, I know I tried to break your face on Saturday, Kale, but pass me the puck if I'm open, please.
Dude, we're never going to see the Four Nations again. I with how many injuries that have come out, like Kachuk could be out.
And I think, are you starting to get the bad feeling in the back of your stomach that the Olympics might be off the table too?
Oh my God, it is sickening to me. Like they can't back out this close, thank God. So they're stuck for next year. But like, if this was the amount of injuries that came out of this, and it was only like 4 countries. And now, literally, probably every best player, hopefully, Russia.
Matthew Tkachuk is killing my fantasy lineup, and Brady Tkachuk too.
I love you, Jimmy, but I don't give a fuck about your fantasy team. Like, let's be honest here. We're talking about gold medals, and like, if this is the injuries, the owners are gonna lose their goddamn mind. Like, they're gonna be like, hey, you want us to raise the salary cap when my guys get injured playing exhibition games? I love the Olympics.
Contracts.
I love the Olympics, but some people see it as an exhibition game. Owners specifically do, especially when their guys get injured.
I have a solution for you. IAHF, adopt the NHL rules.
It's not necessarily that, Jimmy. It's just like, because the NHL rules were for this Four Nations. The Four Nations wasn't.
No, I know that it's not gonna take away from the injuries, but I would just, if I'm not going to be able to see the NHL stars play in the Olympics, I would rather know all of the rules and everything that's available for me in the Olympic format. I'm not talking about me specifically. I can tell the difference when you're playing an international game as opposed to an NHL game. I'm talking about all the people that are now starting to watch hockey after this Four Nations. Because again, one thing that you can credit Gary Bettman to, everything that he's taken a chance on, it's hit. It's done well. There's a ton of new fans coming to hockey.
Yeah.
But now you're telling them that they have to go and learn a whole new style of rules for the IAHF Olympic hockey. Like, just whether it's going to be guys that I know or not, I would like to know the game that I'm watching, and I would like it to be as fast-paced as an NHL game.
What worries me just so much is like I'm trying to think of like solutions for this because like there's the reason why I forgot who it was, but there was a major injury in the 2014 Olympics. I think it was either Crosby or it might have been Ovechkin. It was one of the big players in 2014 Olympics that basically made them miss the rest of the season and either like their team was basically fumbled the bag and that's why they were gone the last 2 Olympics. But like we keep like talking about this and I think this is a fun conversation to bring up again later on. It's like why not make this an off-season tournament? I understand you have to work around the Olympic schedule and when winter is. I understand that. I'm not changing that, but like, do you think that these guys would be opposed to starting the season in February and going into the July and middle of July?
Starting the season and maybe not starting the season in February, but maybe if this is like
that's a very, very long time.
The NBA Cup is early enough in the NBA
I'm not
season.
saying start the season, but like end the season in July, but start in February. Like, it's very, very tough because like we talk about, well, who the fuck cares about football or who cares about hockey and basketball up until Christmas because football's still on.
That's the big thing that's looming in the back of the room. It's the NFL schedule is why they won't move their start date. They hate their start date enough.
Like the Olympics next year, I believe it's in January. Am I wrong, or is it February? I don't remember off the top of my head when the Olympics is next year. But like, say you start the season January, a week after this, January 20th, and so 82 games after that. Are we pushing like most of their seasons will be done in end of May, and then we'll have June, July playoffs.
It starts on February 5th and goes to the 22nd.
Obviously, it won't be the whole. Is that? Oh, I guess hockey does play the whole time because you have to do the round robin thing and everything. That's pushing it. Then I don't know. It's such a tough scenario because the Olympic where it's put in time, but I do worry, Jimmy. You know that I love Olympic hockey, and I do worry. I feel like we're one bad injury away next Olympics from being like we're never fucking doing this again. Like I'm dead serious. They'll never do 4 Nations again. They'll never do Olympic hockey again with the NHL. Like we're one really bad injury play. And look, it's a kudos to how skilled these players are because, frankly, guys could do that a lot easier back in the day because like the skill level and the speed and the force wasn't as strong as was, or it's stronger now than it was back then. So. It's so tough. I just hope that we knock on wood that we don't have any injuries and that we can continue doing this playing for your country thing because playing for your country means a lot to us and playing for your country means a lot for every other sport around the world. Literally every other sport. It would suck that we just have that taken away from us.
I think that if you're going to make it so that they can't play in the Olympics, you at least have to give us a World Cup every so often.
Well, that's the plan. The plan.
It's supposed to be the plan, but that's the thing. If Olympics are off the table, how are they going to justify a World Cup? Yeah, or you have to make that distinction. You have to let the fan know that if you're watching the Olympics, you're not watching NHL players.
The big selling point in this is like 4 Nations made the NHL a lot of money. Oh, they did. Like that
big
helps.
Hats off to the Kachuk brothers for adding to that bag.
Like McCrosby, McDavid, and McKinnon on the same line made a lot of money. Okay, it made a lot of money for a lot of viewers. It made ESPN a lot of money. Made the NHL a lot of money. Like that helped the game. So you continue doing this style of thing. I get the Olympics probably won't help the NHL as much as the other one. You're gonna continue growing your salary cap, growing your advertisements, growing your investment. Like it adds into it, but it's just so much tougher because it's such a context book. I mean, like, no offense to American football, but like the U.S. obviously has all the best players. Like when we go to 7-on-7, it's going to be very tough to any country to beat us.
Well, we can't play with NFL players in our 7-on-7 tournament, but you're
but like if we did play, it's 11-11, and like we dominate very, very easily. That's because, and frankly, like if we had this conversation of where NFL players, if they had the option to play in the Olympics, 95% of them would be like no. If American football was an Olympic sport, and say it was because the Summer Olympics was July until August, right? And that's the month around a month before training camp starts. And you're saying, hey, you got to train all summer. We're going to go play in the middle of fucking nowhere, probably, or wherever the next Olympics is. And you tell those NFL players actually now, and now you're going to go right into your regular season. It wouldn't last. It wouldn't last.
Yes, there are. I think that goes back to the blog that I wrote for the website, veotbpod.org, the round robin format, and we're unfortunately forced into it in hockey because hockey is not America's game. Wouldn't it have been much better to have Canada 1, USA 2, and then go through a bracket? Think about March Madness. Think about wrestling tournaments if you ever watched them. It would be better to go through a bracket system. It's the round robin that fucks everything up, because you're playing so many more games. And I get that we want to see these guys as many times as we can.
Maybe a bracket with double elimination, because like you can't. It'd be tough to sign these guys up for one game and say sayonara. Like some countries would be like, "Fuck this, I'm done. I can't do this. We're not even going to join." So like maybe a round robin.
There's some countries try as somebody who's played in an international. I played in an international tournament with football, and it was a round robin format. The reason why it was successful, or the rounds that were successful, is because you had the best teams playing against each other. We had the Chinese team gave up, I think, a total of 300 points in that tournament because they had to play so many games because of the damn round robin format. Like at some point, show these countries, hey, you don't have what it takes to hang. You got to get better before you can get back into this thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Even FIBA, you have to win. You have to qualify to get to the round robin. You don't have to qualify in the hockey Olympics.
That's why I think, like, I look at the Champions League and what they do in Europe with all this, and I think the NBA could do this also. Or not the NBA, sorry, the NHL needs to adopt this very similar ways. Like, there's a month break, like, in between all this. You extend the season longer. Like you don't directly play a game right after for your team. So like when these teams go play for their country in Europe, for instance, like just say Messi, for instance, middle of their season, he needs to go represent Argentina. There is a international break for like a month and a half, 2 months, where they only focus on that, and they have that time where you're focused on that, you take a breather, and then you go on. So maybe the conversation needs to be like, we just need to extend the season, make it a little bit longer, go deeper, and have some more time off. Because it was absolutely asinine seeing McKinnon out there fucking 2 days after drinking out of the damn Four Nations Cup. Right?
I really don't know how you mentally can't prepare yourself to be willing to die for your country and then be good with the same people that you were ready to kill 2 days after. Exactly. Like psychologically, that doesn't make sense.
International breaks, I think, are a real thing that we could adopt from the European style of soccer and how they do it. So I would love to see that.
All right. Well, we went longer than I thought. I think we both anticipated. So quickly, let's recap. You're a big basketball fan. I'm a big wrestling fan. I'm a wrestling coach. Let's talk a little bit. We're waiting for conference tournaments to start for both basketball and wrestling at the college level, because then we're going to see what the big tournament brackets are going to look like. But you have basketball. I have wrestling. Do you want to start? Do you want me to start?
I'll start. I don't have a ton because, like I said, I've been gone for 12 days. A couple things of note. It's a two-man race. Auburn and Duke right now are the powerhouses. They've been putting up 90-plus points a game, which is, for those that don't watch college basketball, is a lot of points, because usually it's a 75 to 85 range at max, and sometimes in the low 60s for these college basketball games. And Auburn right now with Johnny Broome, which I'll talk about here in a minute a little bit more, like he's been incredible, and obviously with Cooper Flagg, who's going to be the number 1 pick next year in the NBA draft, has been incredible too. It's been a two-man race, and I've seen a lot of experts talk about this, and because I'm trying to dive back into it slowly, but like if you give me Duke or Auburn versus the field, it's and where to bet, it's Duke or Auburn to win. right now. Versus the field, that's how top heavy those two teams are compared to the rest. So, as we get into conference championships, I believe they start next week or maybe the end of this week too. So those will start coming up. Obviously, hopefully, my Lopes get back in the tournament, make some noise as well. I need to catch up on what they've been doing recently. I'll dive into it more, but just know, if you're a betting man, which I'm not currently, let me make that very, very clear, I'm not. I would lean on Duke or Auburn to be the one raising the banner come at the end of March.
I guess the last thing that I would like to know, and I think listeners, if you're catching us because you're a hockey fan or if you're in the same boat as me, how do you qualify for the national tournament?
I mean, it's automatic bids, obviously, when you're conference championships. For that's why conference championship week is so much fun, because literally anybody could automatic bid. Everyone has a chance. Every single team in all. I don't even know how many teams are in college basketball, but every single team has a chance if they win the conference championship. It doesn't matter if you're the lowest of the low. You have two wins in the season. If you go on a miraculous run, you'll be a 16 seed. Don't get me wrong, but you'll be in the dance. You'll be in the dance. You'll make the dance, and that's what makes conference championship week so much fun, and conference championship time so much fun, because, like I said, this is where we find the Cinderellas. This is where we weed out the weak from the strong, and it makes everything so much fun. Obviously, it's a 64-team field. There's not 64 conferences. So there's some teams that get automatic bids, but the conference champions obviously get the qualifications 100%.
And who would you say is the strongest basketball conference? Is it the ACC because of Duke and North Carolina? Which conference would you expect, just based on the level of play that they have to be at to be good in their conference? Who would you expect if you're going to pick a Cinderella team? What conference would you have?
Like I said, I'm not going to talk out of my ass because I don't I have not paid it too much attention this year because now I'm coaching too, and it's been very tough to watch.
Just
historically, it's Big 12 or ACC. Big 12, obviously, with the Kansas of the world. Big 12 usually has a great performances in the tournament, a year in, year out. I think Texas is in the SEC now for basketball too. I don't know off the top of my head though. So maybe
they have to be. I would almost think that they have to be because football is such a big deal in the SEC. There's no way the SEC would allow Texas because the brand brings in a ton of money. Like, you're bringing in all this money for football, bring in that money for basketball too.
True, yeah. So I would assume that that takes Oklahoma, Texas out of the picture for the Big 12, but the Big 12 is very strong. SEC is very strong too.
Baylor and Texas Tech have been two teams that I wouldn't have necessarily picked, but being in the Big 12, they've gotten good for at least the season.
They're always a team that's very frisky come March and are very tough teams out. Obviously, the SEC is very, very strong. Auburn's very, very good. Kentucky without Calipari has been very interesting. Arkansas with Calipari has been very, very interesting.
Rick Pitino, St. John's. Are we going St. John's?
I have some friends that are St. John's fans that I work with, and all I'll say is this: the Johnnies are frisky. The Johnnies are frisky. The Johnnies
coming out of the Big East is no joke.
The Johnnies are frisky. I love the Big East. The Big East tournament is my favorite tournament by far and away because they do it at Madison Square Garden. It's an absolute bloodbath. Like, you never know who's going to come out of that. So the Johnnies are real.
There's so many Italians involved too. There's just emotions all over the place.
The Johnnies are real. The Johnnies are very, very real. And don't count out the Johnnies and don't count out some of these other small schools. Because, like I said, although I said Auburn or Duke look like the odds-on favorites right now to win this in a landslide, Don't sleep on some of these smaller teams. I'm going to say, because that's where these Grand Canyon University Antelopes come and play. Is all I'll say.
I think that's the greatest thing about the basketball tournament. I was watching Rick Pitino's speech, and it just proved to me why it was totally reasonable for me not to know that shit and fuck were cuss words until I was maybe about 8 or 9. Because Pitino, the colorful language is awesome. For the wrestling side of things, there's not a whole lot where it's funny. I don't know how you feel about this. So I told you, Penn State, Cale Sanderson as the head coach of Penn State. So Cale Sanderson is the only American collegiate wrestler to go undefeated through his entire college career. They go 159-0.
That's just insane.
159 wins, 0 losses. His team, since he's taken over as head coach of Penn State, they've won 13 out of the last 15 national championships. So you know what we talk about in college wrestling? Who's going to finish second? We've actually just taken Penn State out of the conversation because as a wrestling coach, they don't even recruit state tournaments anymore. They recruit national tournaments. Their 125-pounder is some 18-year-old freshman that's a 2-time world champion that wrestles Dagestanis for fun. After the Dagestanis get done wrestling bears, he comes in and wrestles in the national tournaments, and Luke Lillidahl beats the shit out of all of them. So Penn State, if you're looking for, here's all the glazing that I'll give the Penn State Nittany Lions for college wrestling. You're winning the national championship. All you have to debate now is how many national champions you're going to get. But your team is ridiculous.
National, and to remind people how they win national champion, it's based upon performances, individual performances, right? That add to the team total, right? If I'm correct.
For the college, for team national champions, it's however many people you qualify. So qualifications come, like Big Ten is historically the greatest wrestling conference, so they have the most amount of bids to get into the national tournament. But you win 4-5 matches over 3 days at the national tournament, and between those matches, you get points for winning, you get points for how much you win by. So the total goes up, and then you get points for advancing in the tournament. So if you go multiple rounds, like Penn State, the reason why they're going to win the national championship is they'll have like 4 national champions, but they'll have 6 guys win 8 matches and get 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, and then they get like 300 points based off of it. I think it's 16 points if you get a champion, but every single round in the tournament that you go, the point total just continues to add up. I don't necessarily want to talk about that. Just know that they have the best wrestlers. Like, watch the duels. The duels are fun because it's individual teams versus individual teams. You can kind of take a little bit more time to focus on the wrestlers, but that's also where you're going to see, like, well, shit, Penn State goes pin at 49, 57, 65, 74, and 84. If you pin in 5 weight classes in a duel situation, that is 30 points. 30 points. That's a 30-point hammer that they just have in the middle of their lineup. So, yeah, you might beat them at 125. You might beat them at 285, but they're going to just kick the shit out of you for 6 weight classes in a row. You have no chance of beating you.
So putting this, dumb it down like me, basically schools are trying to breed individual national champions, and they are trying to get team championships. That's
individual All-Americans.
All-Americans.
The more All-Americans you have on your roster, because that means you get 1 through 8th place. That gives you the most amount of placement points at the national tournament. But they also do crown a dual season champion, and Big Ten is just considered the class of all of college wrestling because their teams are the best no matter what. So Penn State they're the best team. I think the biggest thing to talk about as we get close to conference championships, the Big 12 is another huge wrestling conference. Oklahoma State has way more notoriety when it comes to wrestling. And David Taylor, 4-time All-American, 2-time national champion, Olympic gold medalist, and world medalist, is now the head coach of Oklahoma State. He's gotten a lot of guys over there. So maybe there is a little bit of an upset at the top of the college wrestling world, but it is Penn State's national championship to lose. They will have probably, if I'm going to call it right now, 6 individual national champions. There are 10 weight classes in college wrestling. So they will win 60% of the national championships and walk away with his national title at the end of Friday with 2.5 days of wrestling left.
That's great.
I know that we don't necessarily always appreciate dominance on this show because we hate the Chiefs, but this is the Chiefs on steroids. This is the Yankees back in the 1930s.
This is UConn women's basketball, where they fucking won 8 national championships in a row. I don't think it's 8, but like they won like literally 300 games in a row, I believe it was, over like a 6-year span. Like they haven't lost
a duel since 2019. It was pre-pandemic since the last time they've actually lost a regular season competition.
It's crazy, absolutely crazy.
All right. Now that you know how big of a nerd I am for college wrestling, this is something we're going to bring it back more in the summer, but we have 3 weeks here where we're waiting for massive sports events to happen. This is a good time to catch up on things. Nico mentioned he went on a date. There's going to be some things that I mentioned that are going to be fairly similar, but we have top 5 lists of the things to do.
Top five. We're going to get some top 5s going. Don't you worry. Remember the Fab 5? We'll know about the Fab 5. Who's in my 5? What was that? T-Mobile?
That was MySpace.
No. There was.
It was yes, T-Mobile. My 5.
T-Mobile with Charles Barkley. Who's in my 5? This is who's in my 5 basically with the far end of the bench version without no sports. There's a lot of stuff we do. Okay, is all I'm going to say. There's a lot of things we do.
I'm a full-fledged person. All right. I'll go ahead and start because I have mine pulled up first. I'm going to throw these up on the screen so people can see. I will try and give the best explanation that I can for each. First one, whatever movies have come out recently, whatever 2.5 to 3 hour content, because think about it. Football games are about 3 hours of your day, and it's blocked out in multiple sections. So you're used to watching things at 3.5 hour increments. Might as well throw on, hey, Dune Part 2. It's 4.5 hours long. Figure out what happens in the movie. I think that, being conditioned to watch football games puts you in a really good spot to sit through these long ass epic movies.
I will say, if you're a Dune fan, put the Dune TV show that just came out too, because it was incredible. Also,
read the books if you really want to get into it. I'll get to the books here in a second. Read the books. There's 6 of them in the initial timeline, and then there's 45 alternate versions. It's as big as Star Wars. That's what people don't realize about the Dune franchise. It's as fucking big as Star Wars. Maybe even bigger.
Star Wars was based off of Dune, by the way.
Yes.
For those that don't know, like they got the origin stories, and they did it their own way, obviously. But it was like the writers specifically said that, hey, we took a lot of ideas from Dune, and that's why we created what we did.
My second, I'm gonna out myself here. I don't know if you are just like me. I'm a huge reality TV not that I want to be those people. I don't want to be a reality TV star, but I love when you know something that the characters don't. And that whole Vanderpump Rules, the cheating saga that was 2 summers ago, when I had to either watch baseball or watch Vanderpump Rules, I was tuning into Vanderpump Rules. Andy Cohen had my money hook, line, and sinker. I was like, oh, give me the drama. I want reality TV drama. Somebody flip a table, please. My third pick for what I'm going to catch up on, TV series, we've been talking about Invincible. I made it through season 1, so I'm back. I'm now on season 2, so I'm only a year behind. I'm a year behind in the storyline, but Yellowstone, Invincible, all of those TV series that it takes multiple episodes to catch up on. This is a good time. I've
been told that I shouldn't watch the end of Yellowstone. Is all I'm going to say. I've been told.
I have not finished Yellowstone. I've stopped right now. I watched 1883, and that's as far as I've been in the Yellowstone saga.
Oh, so you don't even know the most recent stuff, like first season?
I have not seen the last 2 seasons of Yellowstone. I don't necessarily. I'm nervous. Here's the thing. I'm scared to watch because the last, season 3, the whole scene with Beth and when she gets attacked at her office building and Rip has to come save her at the very last moment. That's the most stressed out I've ever been watching a television show. My heart was at 120 beats per minute. It was like, oh my God, I'm about to see somebody get what on screen, and then it doesn't end up happening. But holy shit, I can't believe I almost just witnessed that. Wow.
It's such good shit. So good.
My fourth is read some books. Build your mind. Your mind is very strong. It's very powerful. Tap into that power. I'm going to read the 7 Laws of Spiritual Success in my next book. I'm almost done with Embrace the Suck. So I'm almost done with all of the Navy SEAL mental toughness books that I can find because I've read Extreme Ownership with Jocko. I've read Jocko's second book, Dichotomy of Leadership. I'm almost done with Embrace the Suck, and now I'm going to move on to Deepak Chopra and 7 Laws of Spiritual Success. And as somebody who I'm encroaching on a year in my relationship, this is a good time to build up those brownie points. Surprise sleepovers and let's go shopping. Hey, you haven't been to Target in a while, and I just recently got paid. What would you like from Target? Let's get some relationship goals back in the front of everybody's mind. So that's my top 5 on things to catch up on when there's no sports active.
Okay. I really didn't take watching no sports into contact because even when I watch no sports, I continue watching sports. So that's the bad thing. So my top 5 is a little different, a little weirder. First one, Yeet. I have watched every episode of Raw on Netflix thus far this year. So I've been caught up with everything that's going on. I've been following SmackDown too. Obviously, we have the Elimination Chamber coming up this weekend. I'll be eyes on that. Hopefully, our GOAT wins and can headline WrestleMania for his last one. Please, for the love of God, don't give this man Logan Paul. Please, please, please. I'm begging you, do not give his last WrestleMania to Logan Paul. Please. I will line up with a pitch and fork to Triple H's house and say, don't you fucking do this, motherfucker. Give this man a chance at 17 on the grandest stage of them all. That's all I'll say. So WWE will be in my blood with adrenaline in my soul, no pun intended, for the next couple months as we get into WrestleMania 41 here in April, which I hopefully will be attending. Obviously, with my schedule now, who knows if I'll be attending, but we'll figure that out. Number 2, I've been grinding some Marvel Rivals. I've been as a comic book nerd and a video game guy myself. Marvel Rivals is the new big video game out, and basically, you're telling me I can play as Thor, I can play as the Hulk, I can play as the Thing, I can play as Hawkeye and battle people, and I am loving every second.
That's the phone version, right? That
no. It's a PlayStation version.
Shit!
It's a big PlayStation version. It's the
there's
Overwatch.
$60 gone from my budget.
It is a Overwatch style game where basically a team of 6. Now I'm really nerdy out. A team of 6 players. You get to pick from healers, vanguards, which are like tanks, and like duelists that can basically like you. There's 40 characters in the game, Jimmy. Is all I'm going to say.
So it's Dungeons and Dragons Marvel style.
You're going to like this even better. It's free, so you don't even have to drop $60. It's FREE. We spell free, okay, Jimmy? It is.
I feel a video game stream coming on.
It is all online though. Is the only thing, as I will say, it's all online. So you have to play online against real people, and there are some crack people out there, as I'm going to say. So I've been grinding that a lot. It's very, very fun. I'm enjoying the help. They keep adding characters. They just added the Fantastic Four this past month. They're going to add Deadpool here soon. They're going to be adding a lot of other characters, but Punisher is in there. He's like one of the most OP characters.
I would love to see the boys characters. I would love to see the
that's the only
characters.
problem. The only problem is that's not Marvel.
I know it's not Marvel,
so
but
not, they wouldn't be added.
There's basically 2 comic companies. I know that Invincible and the boys are not Marvel or DC, but come on.
Then we're jumping in on Mortal Kombat levels of and Call of Duty levels, and we just keep adding shit.
I love the new Mortal Kombat game.
I know you do. I know you do, but I don't because there's too much shit going on, and that's why I like this one. I don't want to see Batman in this fucking game. Okay?
No, not Batman.
DC make their own versions of this. Make their own versions of this. I'm fine with it. It's free. It's free. Just keep doing this shit. So that's number 2 for me. Snowboarding, obviously, I haven't been up the mountain, which is it's February, end of February.
You're about to miss out on the snowpocalypse weekend. Apparently.
I'm well aware of that. Unfortunately, I've been very busy, but I'm going to work my way up there and try to get some time in on the slopes. I need to now. Now that I'm seeing someone that literally grew up in the mountains, it is a skier constantly that will be on the forte. So I will be snowboarding here soon. For sleep, my God, do I need sleep like I need water? I feel like I haven't slept in a month. I unfortunately I'm still on East Coast time, so I've been waking up at 6 a.m. and I'm like,
welcome to the club. I wake up at 4, but I
was like, this is not anything I want to be doing. I need to be sleeping in a little bit, so please catch up with my sleep. My body needs to figure that out. I know I didn't pick up on sports, but for those that don't know, I coach lacrosse now, so I need to catch up on college hoops. Obviously, we just had a big segment on that, which I'll talk about more as we get into time for college basketball season, so I will be doing that. And college lax season, I get to need to watch some pointers and watch some of these defenses and how they operate and try to translate to my own way. So catch up on that as much as possible too.
This is, you have to be a well-rounded individual. You can't just be a sports fan. You have to be able to be a actual human being, and that's what we like to bring on this show. Follow us, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're going to teach you how to be real human beings. That being said, let's get into player, and bench warmer of the week because it's all about sports. There is no break from sports. I'm going to let you start first. I'll have a player that made the play, but yours probably a little bit more happy of an instance than mine that I'm going to bring up here.
Yeah, play of the week just happened last night. Nathan McKinnon, best baseball player we have in the state of Colorado, and he batted the puck in the back of net out of the air and just like I know we're watching emotion because the Wi-Fi isn't the best going on, but just look up the McKinnon goal from last night. He put in the back of the midair, insane just skill this guy has. I will talk about because when we get to player of the week and all that, I want to talk about more about who he's playing with and the effect he has on the people around him. But he is one of the best players in the world for a reason. And everyone he touches the ice with makes him better. It's such an insane play to just be able to bat that out of the air and put it in the back of the net. So that's my play of the week.
The hand-eye coordination, I mean, hockey players already get a ton of credit, and this is just proof of it. I know that it's probably coming choppy through for you, but for the final product, it will be clear. That is one of the best goals that I've seen. And hey, Nathan McKinnon scoring goals. We might as well.
Yeah,
He's like, oh shit, it was 85 miles behind me. I didn't even know that he shot it.
By the time the puck passed him, he was like, oh fuck, hell, the best goal in the world can't even stop that.
It was insane. I know that it's not the happiest moment that we've ever had on this show, but I have to give it the credit that it deserves. Moving on, player of the week. I have Colorado Avalanche newest addition, Martin Necas. 4 goals, 8 assists. He's played in 11 games since the trade deadline. But the main reason why he gets player of the week status is because what I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, Mikko Rantanen is learning very quickly how tough it is to play in the NHL without Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon. He was like, oh, shit, I thought we were bad when we scored 50 points. This team, it's tough to do anything. And Martin Necas, whether he's putting points on the board or not, he is making more of an impact than Mikko Rantanen, and he came out of the same trade. So I'm going to go ahead and give him a little bit of love.
I hate to put the numbers on him, but obviously 4 goals, 8 assists amounts to 12 points. Nathan McKinnon, or sorry,
a point per game. That's more than Mikko.
Yeah, which Mikko currently has 3 points in 8 games played. Just for reference, by the way. So I'm not saying Necas is a better player than Rantanen, because Rantanen would be doing these numbers with us still. He obviously would. But the rumors are swirling that Mikko could get traded again, because apparently they offered him 12.5 AAV and a $100 million contract, and his agents aren't very happy about it because he basically could have got the same here.
You're getting paid market value for a winger?
You want to talk about guys that are on the hot seat. That agent may be so far gone that Mikko's like, I could have stayed for that much money. Instead, I'm going to have to go play in Montreal where I'm going to be on one of the worst teams in the league, and I'm going to get paid maybe $500,000 more when I could have just done this in Colorado. The agent's going to be fired. The agent's going to be so gone. Like I said, don't wish –
What did we say last week, Nico? The reason why you're not getting paid Leon Draisaitl money is because you can't step in and play center.
If Carolina doesn't get a deal done and they keep him, that would be back-to-back years where they traded for a elite wingman, Jake Ensel last year, Mikko Rantanen this year, and they walked.
Here's the thing, though. Is it a worse look for them to, miss out on both? Or, here's the thing. The funniest thing about this whole entire situation is that if he wants to come back to Colorado, he has to wait an entire year. Yeah. That's the way the NHL rules work. You can't get traded back to the team that you were traded from until an entire calendar year.
He could resign here.
Like, unless it's unless it's an entirely new contract. But also, like we told you, $14 million goes to a winger that can play center, not just a true winger. No, none of them.
$14 million is not for anybody on the wing except for Prime Ovechkin. Let's be honest. Like that is the only person that is on that echelon. By the way, we're like 16 goals away from him breaking a record. We'll talk about that at the end of March because that's going to be huge when we get to that point. Because he had a Hattie the other night, and I was like, oh boy, he's going to break it. He's going to a record that none of us thought would ever be broken. It's going to be broken this year. So that'll be fun to watch at the end of March. But yes, he is not. Sorry to get off topic there. He is not a. Like I said, he's good. He's very good ball player. A hockey player, sorry. Very good hockey. I'm used to saying that. Very good.
He's good with the puck.
But when all the focus is on you offensively, as good of a leader as Sebastian Aho and as good of a friend that Mikko Rantanen he is not half of the threat that Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar is on the ice. He's not even half the threat. He's a good player, not half the threat that those two are.
No, he plays in a very specific zone of the ice. Your player of the week.
I went Johnny Broom. Look, 24, 31, 15, 19, 17, the last 5. That's insane. 9, 14, 13, 14, and 7 from the rebounds in the last 5 as well. This man is going to be Naismith Player of the Year. He's been that good for Auburn. He's one of the main focal points for why Auburn has been so good. 6'10" guy, and he has just been an absolute unit for this team. A guy that is going to lead this team to a Final Four appearance, in my opinion. And he has done a great job this season, just carrying them on the backbone of not only being offensive weapon, but also holding it down defensively and getting a lot of boards to be that catalyst on both ends. So he's one of the reasons why Auburn is one of the favorites.
No, if you have a guy that can take over in a specific aspect of the college game, as somebody who's called college games on the radio, it changes your entirety of your program. You have the ability to do a lot. Finish things out. Let's talk about some of the worst of the week. I'll let you go first because I have a problem with this one. I watched Henry Cejudo do a lot of really amazing things as a high school wrestler in Colorado. There is no reason why he should have been here. Why is he on bench?
You want to know why? Because this last Saturday, he became the biggest crybaby in the entire UFC. Because my man, he retired, by the way, 4 years ago now it was. 20.
Yeah, no, he should have never came back.
He should have never came back. Never in his wildest dreams came back. Well, Saturday night, he was the main event on a fight night because he's not good enough to fight for the title anymore. But he keeps putting himself out there. I think he could do it. He faced Young Sadong in the main event, and let's put it this way. It was a 5-round fight. And for those that don't know UFC or anything, 5-round fights are specific for A championship fights and main events. For fight nights, main events. So Cejudo and Young Sadong were supposed to go 5 rounds. Well, he got his ass kicked, and I mean absolutely blistered kicked, and it worked for the first 2 rounds of the fight. Well, Henry Cejudo got poked in the eye accidentally and then decided for 2.5 minutes, I'm going to start complaining to the referee instead of paying attention. So he's down 3-0 in rounds, by the way. For those that aren't good at math, that means you basically have lost the fight. It doesn't matter what you do in the last 2 rounds of a 5-round fight. And he starts just whining and crying and basically gives up. And on the mat, and I know you hate this more than it gives up.
So
and
he gets a win?
Ends. No. It ends as unanimous decision after 3 rounds. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's fucking terrible. I will tell you, it's fucking terrible. It wouldn't have been as bad as if he would have used the inadvertent eye poke as a way to somehow weasel a win away from it. So I was anticipating a lot worse.
He was down 3-0 in rounds, getting his ass worked, and he got an eye poked. I believe it was the round. Might have been second. I can't remember off the top of my head. But he's got an eye poked and then proceeded to cry and whine about it. And then went on 3 podcasts talking about it, whining more, when everyone had the same sentiment, being like, you were getting your ass kicked. Even if that 1 point goes away, you're begging for a chance at a tie. You're double champ, triple champ, right? Triple C, as they called him. And then you do that bull crap. Retire. You're done. You're not. Look, you're good. You're very, very good. Very, very good for a lot of years. It's time, buddy. It's time. If you're whining and bitching and moaning, he's one of the biggest crybabies I've ever seen. It's very disappointing because he was such a good fighter way back in the day. But right now, I couldn't be more disappointed in a fighter. And Dana, he was asked about it after the fight, and he was like, "Do you see a rematch possibly do the eye poke?" He was like, "Why would I do that?" Young Sadong just dominated him for 15 minutes. And Cejudo basically gave up and was whining about an eye poke for a point. When, by the way, eye poke happens every single fight nearly. And unless it's blatantly like fist in the back of the eye, they're not going to take a point away. Or if you've done it multiple times, they're not going to take a point away. And he was crying about it for 1 time. And so that's why he's bench warmer of the week. Yes, I've been catching up on my.
You're 110% correct. Now that I know the situation, fuck that guy. Like, that is the exact bullshit that I've had to deal with since November. And I've taken segments of this show to talk about it. That is pussy bullshit behavior.
I'm not going to say that, but it's very, very bad that he went on different shows and started crying about it. Like I said, he was blatantly losing that fight.
You had plenty of chances to try and win that fight before you got poked in the goddamn eye. Let's maybe wake up in round 1 or 2. Let's do something. Let's get something on the board.
Very, very bad.
Well, speaking of, not being tough enough to handle a little bit of discomfort, and I said it last night. It's funny that this gets brought up today on the show. At practice last night, I said, hey, we're going to teach you how to get out of this. Just know it hurts even when you get out of it. Like, you're either dealing with pain getting pinned in this situation, or you're dealing with the pain to get out of it. Anthony Davis, I didn't realize that it's only been 1 game since the trade deadline, and not even a full game. You, like I said just now, you have to deal with a little bit of discomfort to be a champion. That's what we want to be, right? You have to be able to deal with a little bit of pain to be a champion.
especially for a team that trades you because they think that you're going to be the difference maker in this team. You're going to be a difference maker. You're going to be a difference for them winning a championship, basically. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like I said, I'm not going to report on because Anthony Davis is a great player, and just some guys don't have the will to stay healthy. Unfortunately, when you look at guys like LeBron, who's doing this at 40 years old on a nightly basis, and guys like Embiid and Anthony Davis, who frankly can't put together a 50, 60 game season anymore. There's remedies out there. I understand for big men it's way different, and for guys that are massively tall, it's bad on the knees. It's very, very difficult to stay upright and everything. But there's ways to change your game. There's ways of being effective for a long period of time. Nikola Jokic is I think Jokic weighs 50 pounds more than Anthony Davis and Joel Embiid, and he's plays 82 games a season. It's just excuses. Like I said, I'm not sliding their play on the court because both those players are all world type players. But the further and further we get away from this Embiid MVP, more we're like, bitch, fucking get away. Take the MVP. We don't want to fucking deal with you or your fan base anymore. By the way, the Sixers are one of the worst teams in the NBA, by the way, again. And a year after they brought in Paul George, and he's taking a leave of absence from being podcast P. Podcast P. I could go on and on and on, but hopefully, like I said, they're great players when they're playing. I hope that they can get healthy and play. But, man, you are hurting the fans, hurting the team. It's just getting worse and worse, and I feel bad for them.
The situation needs to change. Hopefully, at some point, it does. I know what it's like to be a fan of a team that just feels like they'll never get out of the depths of hell. But we'll figure it out. This has been this has been a great episode for the fact that we have no sports to actually talk about. We were able to go on for an hour and a half. That just shows how much this actually takes into account of our lives. Be sure, let us know. Follow us at FEOTB Pod. Continue to jump in the comments. If you're going to come at the king, you best come correct. If you're going to continually, try and take these weak-ass arguments as to why, you watched it, you commented on the video, so I appreciate that. But, at least have something to back it up and be willing to argue. That is the whole point of this show. Nico and I are good friends. We've been good friends for a long time. We don't agree
on everything. We do not agree.
We hate each other's opinions most of the time. We don't like it. That's why this show works. So be sure to send in your incorrect opinions. We'll love it. We'll appreciate it all the same. And be sure to follow at FEOTB Pod. Subscribe to the YouTube channel.
One last thing before we jump off. Shout out NBA Centel. I tweeted out on our thing, #FreakCentel. For those that know the greatest meme page and greatest news, fake news, by the way. Not like fake news, but like actual fake news program on NBA Twitter. NBA Centel was banned because he tweeted out two things. One, for those that don't know the rumor going around, but there's a rumor that the Lakers are banning Luka Doncic jerseys from games at their Mavericks games. Obviously, that wasn't true. NBA Centel broke that news. Then there was the thing that Joel Embiid retired, where the city of Philadelphia almost had a heart attack. That was also NBA Centel, CENTEL. They went away for about 24 hours. They got banned. And then half of the league of NBA teams said #FreakCentel and got him his, and shout out Elon, got him his thing back. And so he's back disputing memes and making life fun. It's very, very funny. For those that don't know what NBA Twitter's like, you don't know what like sarcasm and what fun NBA Twitter is, because there is nothing better than NBA Twitter after A, something massive happens, or B, something or a team I just like fumbles a bag or something, or just does something really, really poor, because there's nothing like it. There's I love the NFL. NFL Twitter is poor. It is poor people. They wish they could be NBA Twitter, because the back and forth that NBA Twitter goes at each other, because there's hatred, real hatred people have in the NBA Twitter world as opposed to the NFL Twitter world. So NFL Twitter world, get your shit going, because because you achieve to be better than they are.
Shout out NBA Centel for getting your account back before I got my personal account back. I'm still on a 6-year ban, and I feel like
we're close. We're close.
I feel like mine was warranted too. The reason why I got banned was a lot more, That's a meme account putting out a meme. Mine was legit. Somebody was
We
saying
are getting
something about.
close. Was it 4 years? We're past the halfway point.
I feel like we should come on, give me back on personal Twitter, please. Be sure to follow the podcast at FEOTB Pod. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. For myself, Jimmy Pilato, my co-host Nico Bryan, episode 220 of the Far End of the Bench podcast. We will see you guys next week.
Peace.
If you don't stay down and you never quit, come on over here and sit on the far end of the bench.